Thank you very much, dear devotees, for kindly assembling here today. This morning is a discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamritam, Adi Lila, 4th chapter, and the pyar number is 87. In Bangla literature, it is called pyar, payar, pyar. So, pyar. In Sanskrit, it is called shlok. In Bengali literature, it is called pyar. So it is Adi Lila, 4th chapter. Pyar is 87. It is in front of all of us. But before I begin speaking something, it is the tradition established by previous great Mahajanas to begin any event with Mangalacharan, auspicious invocations. So I'll begin with Mangalacharan. Most of us know these verses. You can kindly sing along with me. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namah. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Nitai Gaur Premanande. So it is said, Panchabhihi saha sthathavyam gantavyam panchabhihi saha vaktavyam kham panchabhihi saha. Panchabhihi saha sthathavyam. If you want to stay at any particular place, stay with at least 5 people, because if you have an argument or quarrel with one person, there are 4 other people to talk to. Gantavyam panchabhihi saha. And if you are traveling somewhere for your own safety and security, travel with how many people? 5. And panchabhihi saha vaktavyam. And if you want to speak something, there should be at least how many people? But there are more than 50 here. Na dukkham panchabhihi saha. Thank you so much for kindly being present here today. I'm very grateful that all of you kindly took out time and arrived here today. You are kindly giving your time to listening to this talk on Sri Chaitanya Charitamritam. We are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamritam, Adi Lila, 4th chapter, pyar 87. Please repeat after me. Krishna Vancha Purti Rupa Kare Aradhane Ateva Radhika Nama Purane Vakhane Krishna Vancha Purti Rupa Kare Aradhane Ateva Radhika Nama Purane Vakhane Krishna Vancha Purti Rupa Kare Aradhane Ateva Radhika Nama Purane Vakhane. Synonyms: Krishna Vancha, of the desire of Lord Krishna. Purti Rupa, of the nature of fulfillment. Kare, does. Aradhane, worship. Ataeva, therefore. Radhika, Srimati Radhika. Nama, named. Purane, in the Puranas. Vakhane, in the description. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanarvinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: her worship, Radhana, consists of fulfilling the desires of Lord Krishna. Therefore, the Puranas call her Radhika. Purport: the name Radha is derived from the root word aradhana, which means worship. The personality who excels all in worshipping Krishna may therefore be called Radhika, the greatest servitor. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yat kripam tamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam. Hare Krishna. So my sincere thanks to Hemagiri Prabhu for kindly inviting me here today. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you all the wonderful devotees who are present here, Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. The Payar today, in English we often just call it verse. So the verse today is Krishna Vancha Purti Rupa Kare Aradhane Ata Eva Radhika Nama Purane Vakhane. Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is explaining the term Radhika. And why is he explaining the term Radhika? The reason for this is in the previous verses. So I'd like to pull out verse 83. This is 4 verses back. And we can see Devi Krishna Mayi Prokta Radhika Paradevata Sarva Lakshmi Mayi Sarva Kantihi Sammohini Para. So this is the context. And the original terms of the verse are being explained one by one. So the first term is Devi. And the second term is Krishna Mayi. The third term is Prokta. Prokta means she is known as. So, dear devotees, all other terms are adjectives of the term Radhika. And Prokta is she is known as. So, you need to have at least one verb in a sentence. Without a verb, you cannot have a sentence. So, who is known as Radhika? So, all the remaining adjectives. Devi, she is Krishna Mayi, she is Paradevata, she is Sarva Lakshmi Mayi, she is Sarva Kantihi, she is Sammohini, and she is Para. Now, Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami begins explaining the individual terms of this particular verse, shloka. Now, if you go to the next one, you will see what is the next one. Devi Kahi Dyotamana. You can see he is explaining the term Devi. Devi is derived from the verbal root, Sanskrit verbal root div. So, div means to be very effulgent. So, this is Devi, Dyotamana. She is very effulgent. So, that is how he explains Devi. And if you see the next verse, and he is explaining which term, dear devotees, you can see Krishna Mai. So, he is explaining Krishna Mai, and Krishna Mai is being explained as she who thinks of Krishna within herself always, and she who always looks upon externally in the world, everywhere she sees Krishna. That is how it is explained. Alternate explanation of Krishna Mai is given in the next verse. So, she is non-different from Krishna in one way, therefore Krishna Mai. So, that is the sum and substance of the next payar. And then Devi, Krishna Mai Prokta, and the next term is Radhika. So, we are on the current payar, which is explaining which term, dear devotees? Radhika. So, what is the meaning of the term Radhika? So, we are looking into that, which is the current payar, which is 87. And in 87, Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying, Krishna Vancha Purti Rupa Kare Aradhane Ata Eva Radhika Nama Purane Vakhane. Krishna Vancha Purti Rupa Kare Aradhane. She performs Aradhana. Aradhana is she performs worship or service. And service in what way? Krishna Vancha Purti Rupa. Her service is of the form of the Rupa of Krishna Vancha Purti, of the fulfillment of all of Shri Krishna's desires. So, Shri Krishna technically is Sarvakamaha. He has all desires, and he is Akamaha. He has no desires. Bhagavan is having contradictory qualities harmonized within himself. So, the Upanishads described him as somebody who is Akama and also who is Sarvakama, that he has no material desires. At the same time, he has unlimited spiritual desires. That is Bhagavan. Because if we say Bhagavan is only Akama, we are restricting the scope of him being Bhagavan. We are saying that the absolute truth cannot have desires. And if we specify the absolute truth only as Sarvakama, then we are saying that the absolute truth cannot be renounced. So, we need to have both qualities within Bhagavan, and both qualities should be harmonized within the same absolute truth, Akama and Sarvakama. Now, an alternate term for Kama is Vancha. Vancha is another synonym for Kama. So, Krishna Vancha Purti. So, she is ensuring the fulfillment of the desires of Shri Krishna. And in this way, Kare, she performs Aradhana. Aradhana is she performs his seva, his worship, the execution of his worship. Ata eva, therefore, Radhika Naam Purane Vakhane. In Hindi, se Vakhan hai unko. Vakhan means she is glorified in the Puranas as Shri Radhika. Dear devotees, in this entire verse, the term Radhika is there or Radha is there. Shri Radha, the verbal root is Radh. In Sanskrit, the verbal root is Radh. And this verbal root Radh is found in two places in Sanskrit Dhatu Path in the list of verbal roots. One is Radha, Vriddhi, Siddhi, Droha, Daiva. So it has many meanings, but that verbal root is not the one which is used in the formation of the term Radha. There is another verbal root in Panini's Swadigana, Radha Samsiddhau. Radha means complete accomplishment. The verbal root Radha means complete accomplishment. So she completely accomplishes. Radhnoti, sadhayati, Shri Krishna Vancham iti Shri Radha. Radhnoti means she completely accomplishes. What does she completely accomplish? Shri Krishna Vancham, the desires of Shri Krishna. Therefore, she is known as Radha. So this is the derivation from the Sanskrit grammar point of view. The reason why I am specifying these technical details before I get into the more esoteric part, the reason why I am specifying these technical details is because it is important to understand our most worshipable deity, not only from a rasa point of view, but also from a tattva point of view. Many individuals, they say that what is the need of understanding tattva in such great detail? And often they point to the example of that particular person who was holding the Bhagavad-gita upside down and reading not able to read Bhagavad-gita. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed him that you will get the complete result of reading Bhagavad-gita. So often this example is quoted as to why do we need to do it. Now that individual had a genuine problem that he could not read. Imagine people who can read also start giving the same excuse. So is it justified or not justified? Not justified. So therefore, dear devotees, when our circumstances are different, our responsibilities are different. So we should understand in detail. And therefore in Chaitanya Charitamrita it said, Siddhanta Baliya Chitte Na Kara Alas. Because Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami knew that there are many individuals who do alas. And we know what is the meaning of alas. They are lazy in understanding the Siddhanta. And what is the result of understanding Siddhanta properly? Iha haite Krishna lage sudrida manas. That you become very firmly fixed at the lotus feet or in the remembrance of Shri Krishna. So coming back, the Sanskrit verbal root is Radh Samsiddhau. According to Panini's Ashtadhyayi, in the 3rd chapter of Ashtadhyayi, there is a sutra, Nandi Grahi Pachadibhyo Lyuninyachah. It gets the suffix ach. And Radh plus ach becomes Radha, the masculine term Radha. And in feminine term, you add the suffix tap and it becomes Radha. Alright, so that is the final formation of the term Radha. The meaning remains the same, Radhnoti Sadhayati Shri Krishna Vancham, that she completely accomplishes all the desires of Shri Krishna, therefore she is known as Radha. Now, when the topic of Sri Radha comes up, we are basically touching a most esoteric part of Gaudiya Vaishnava literature. Because to speak anything about Sri Radha in a very shallow manner is actually not possible and not justified. When we speak of Sri Radha, we cannot speak from a very shallow point of view. We have to get into details. But then there are devotees who are worried that if we get into esoteric details, then maybe we are touching a section of Shastra for which we are not qualified. So that fear is also there in many individuals or many devotees. So how do we approach the subject matter without losing our adhikar? So we approach the subject matter according to the directions shown by the 6 Goswamis. Because it is the verdict of Sri Narottam Das Thakur, Rupa Raghunath Pade Haibe Akuti Tabe Hama Bujhabose Yugala Piriti. Bujhaba, then I will understand Yugala Pariti, the loving affairs of the divine couple, Shri Shri Radha Krishna, if I fulfill one condition, Rupa Raghunath Pade Haibe Akuti. If I have Akuti, attachment to the Pada. What is the meaning of Pada, dear devotees? Lotus feet. Another meaning of Pada is also poetry. We say Padavali. So there are two meanings there. Rupa Raghunath Pade. That at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Raghunath, if we have attachment, then we understand Sri Sri Radha Krishna. Another meaning is, if at the poetry of Sri Rupa and Raghunath we have attachment, then we understand without any risk the pastimes of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. Because every morning we are praying Seva Adhikar Diye Karo Nija Dasi. So that adhikar is gotten through the authoritative literature of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, and also the other 6 Goswamis, but primarily these 2 Goswamis. And why do we enter into the name, form, qualities and pastimes of Sri Radha Krishna through the literature of Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami? There is a reason. The reason is that they have described it in such a way that there is no trace of vulgarity in such descriptions. I hope you are able to understand. There is no trace of vulgarity in these descriptions. In Sanskrit, the term is ashlil. So ashlil is the Sanskrit term, and in English we call it vulgar. So whenever pastimes of love are being described, there is a possibility that there may be, if any ordinary author describes, there is a possibility that there may be traces of vulgarity. And as soon as there are traces of vulgarity, it puts off the audience. The audience doesn't like to hear it. That is the problem. But through the literature of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, there is no trace of vulgarity described in the pastimes. So in a very respectable manner, in a very gentlemanly manner, we can understand something about Sri Radha. So Sri Rupa Goswami describes in his literature, specifically there is an entire chapter dedicated to Sri Radha in Sri Ujjwal Nilmani. Sri Ujjwal Nilmani is the Parishishta, the supplementary portion of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So many of us may be studying Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. In Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, 5 main rasas are described. What are the 5 main rasas described? Shanta, Dasya. So it is not Sakhya, it is Sakhya, dear devotees. So pronunciation should be Sakhya. Then there is Vatsalya, and then there is Madhurya. But Sri Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, I am not going to describe one rasa in detail. Now can you please try to guess which rasa he did not describe in detail in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu? Madhurya Ras. And what is the reason? Sri Rupa Goswami says in the western direction of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, he says, Nivritta Anupayogitvat Duruhatvat Ayam Rasaha. The problem is there are many people for whom this rasa, this Madhurya Rasa is very difficult to understand, Duruha, because they don't take the proper approach. And secondly, Nivritta Anupayogitvat. There are people who are Nivritta, very detached from material life. They are so detached that even if they hear Radha Krishna Lila, they become alarmed that I may become attracted to material life again by hearing this Lila. That is the fear they have. So Sri Rupa Goswami says, I am aware that there are many Vairagis. And by Vairagis, he is not meaning all of you who are in saffron cloth. He is meaning those who are having Phalgu Vairagya. I hope you are able to understand. There are 2 types of Vairagya, Yukta Vairagya and Phalgu Vairagya. So there are many who are having Phalgu Vairagya, who want to get out of the material world so soon because the material world is painful, that they don't want to take any risk with Radha Krishna Lila. And the reason why they don't want to take any risk with Radha Krishna Lila is because they feel that these are similar to pastimes of girls and boys. If I hear these pastimes, then I may become attracted again to material life, and then that will cause me suffering. So this is the reason why they don't listen to it. And therefore, this one rasa which he did not describe in detail in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, then he wrote a Parishishta Granth, the supplementary literature for Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. And what is the name of that supplementary literature? Ujjwal Nilmani. And in this literature, he specifically took up only one rasa, and that rasa is which rasa? Madhurya rasa. Now we are not going to get into very detailed descriptions of it, but because the verse is saying Purane Vakhane, that Sri Radha is described in the Puranas. Jai. Shri Sri Radha Ras Bihari Bhagwan ki jai. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai. Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Because Sri Rupa Goswami, because Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has said that Purane Vakhane, so where has he taken his inspiration from? So I am tracing back to where this has come from. So this has come originally from Sri Ujjwal Nilmani. And in the Ujjwal Nilmani, at the end of the 3rd chapter, it is described, Tatra Shastra Prasiddhastu Radha Chandravali Tatha Vishakha Lalita Shyama Padma Shaibya Cha Bhadrika. Tatra Shastra Prasiddha. Now there are many associates, feminine associates of Krishna who are Shastra Prasiddha, who are renowned in Shastra. And who are they? Sri Radha, Chandravali, Vishakha, Lalita, Shyama, Padma, Shaibya, and Bhadrika. Bhadrika is Bhadra. Commenting upon this, Sri Jiva Goswami says, Shastram, in which Shastra? So he says, Bhavishya Uttara, Skandagata, Pralada Samhita, Adicha. So he takes the name of Puranas. And Puranas, he takes the name of Bhavishya Uttar Puran, Skanda Puran, etc. So that is the inspiration for this particular verse of Sri Chaitanya Charitamritam. And further, Sri Rupa Goswami says, Tatrapi Sarvatha Shresthe Radha Chandravaliti Ubhe. Now, amongst all the millions and millions, infinite millions gopis in the spiritual world, there are two who are most prominent. Sri Rupa Goswami says, one is known as Sri Radha, one is known as Sri Chandravali. These are two most prominent. The purpose of existence of both of them is to give pleasure to Sri Krishna. The entire purpose of existence of any living entity is to give pleasure to Sri Krishna in the spiritual world in Goloka Vrindavan. So this is the purpose of their eternal existence. They did not take birth at any particular point of time. Just as Sri Krishna is eternally existing in the spiritual world, similarly, his Shakti, Hladini Swarupini, Sri Radha is existing eternally in the spiritual world. So never took birth. They are eternally existing. Sri Radha, Sri Chandravali, Sri Vishakha, Sri Lalita, all of them. There is a big objection by Laukika Kavis, the Sanskrit poets of the common world, of the outside world, that it is not suitable to depict Sri Radha, Sri Chandravali, Sri Lalita, etc. in Sanskrit poetry. And why? Because they are parodha. Parodha means we call parakiya. Parakiya we all know, parakiya means that they are not technically married to Sri Krishna. They are married to somebody else. In Dasharupakam, one of the prominent acharyas of Sanskrit poetry says, Anya Sri Kanyak Kodha cha Nanyo Dhangi Rase Kvachit. There are two types of ladies who are not suitable to be described in Sanskrit dramas. First is the lady who is not married. Second is the lady who is married to somebody else. Both ladies should not be described as the primary female protagonist. We say male protagonist, female protagonist. In ordinary language, we say hero and heroine. Right? But in technical language, we say male protagonist and female protagonist. So previously when authors of Sanskrit literature used to write dramas, they used to write dramas so that the society will be benefited morally, spiritually, etc. Their concern is that if we start depicting dramas in which there are ladies who are attracted to somebody else besides their husband, then will it lead to dharma or adharma? Please tell me. Adharma. That is their concern. So therefore, the authors of Sanskrit authors of previous ages, they did not prefer parodha naika. Parodha means a lady married to somebody else. They always preferred swiya, swakiya, or a lady married to her husband and showing affection and love towards her husband. So you see examples of Nal, Damayanti, etc. in Sanskrit literature, and the whole purpose is so that the concept of Sringar Ras, which is known as ordinary romance, can be put through a dharmic point of view in front of people in general, so that society does not get a vision of adharma through portrayal of love between a man and a woman. Now, of course, in modern day art, drama, etc., all of these rules are completely given up. In fact, sometimes parodha, naika, a lady who is married to somebody else, is shown as the prime female protagonist or the primary heroine of the story. And tell me, dear devotees, does this lead to dharma in the society or adharma in society? Adharma. So, the concern of the previous Sanskrit poets is very valid. Very valid. But Sri Rupa Goswami says, I have something to say in this regard, because Sri Rupa Goswami is also going to write dramas. We all know there are two primary dramas of Sri Rupa Goswami. Can anybody name the primary two dramas? Lalita Madhava Natakam, Vidagdha Madhav Natakam. Now it is Natya. Natya means drama. It is supposed to be performed on stage. Now when it is supposed to be performed on stage, the people, the civilized people, Bhadra Samaj, will see that there is some individual playing the role of Sri Radha, some individual playing the role of Sri Krishna, and they will come to know that she is not married to Sri Krishna. Now tell me, will the Bhadra Samaj, the civilized society, will they feel encouraged at such descriptions or will they feel repulsed by such descriptions? So technically speaking, from the previous Sanskrit poets' point of view, they should not feel encouraged by such descriptions. But Sri Rupa Goswami in Natak Chandrika, he wrote a specific literature simply on how to write dramas. So that literature is called Natak Chandrika. And in Natak Chandrika, Sri Rupa Goswami quotes a previous author. He says, I am not the one making this verse. There is a previous author, Sudev, who says, Nishta yadangi nirase kavibhir parodha tad gokulambu jadrisham gulamantarena ashamsaya rasavidheravataritaanam kamsarina rasikamandala shekharena Nishta yad angini rase na ishta. I understand, Kavibhir, the Kavis don't, the poets don't prefer parodha. Parodha means a girl married to somebody else who is falling in love with somebody. I understand, Sri Rupa Goswami says the previous poets don't prefer this. But, tad gokula ambuja drisham kulam antarena. Kulam antarena. This rule has one big exception. The exception is Gokula Ambuja Drisham Kulam. The entire lineage or family or group of the lotus-eyed beauties of Gokul. That group is an exception to this rule. So why is this group of gopis an exception to this rule? Remember, only one exception was made. Which exception was made? The gopis was made as an exception. Not even Kubja is made as an exception. Try to understand this. Tomorrow, if somebody makes a drama of Krishna and Kubja, you can make a drama because it is a historical subject matter. But will the Samajikas, will the civilized audience be happy with that drama, or will they not be so happy with that drama? If we start showing the love pastimes of Kubja and Krishna, so they will say, no, don't show this, because Kubja comes in the category of Ganika. Ganika means she was not having such a very high role in the society. So she should not be taken as Naika, as a female protagonist of a drama. And is Krishna married to Kubja? No, he's not married to Kubja. So then how are you showing her in a drama? You cannot show. So the only exception is Gokul Ambuja Drisham Kulam. And so that is the only exception. The gopis of Vrindavan are the only exception. Now you can't just make a claim without giving a reason for it. So there is a reason specified it. Shamsaya rasavidher avataritanam kamsarina rasika mandala shekharena. The enemy of Kamsa is Shri Krishna. He is the Shekhar. He is the most expert person in the Rasa dance. The very purpose of manifestation of gopis in the world is Parakiya Lila. Otherwise there is no other purpose for their manifestation. And if there is any other purpose for their manifestation, find me a purpose from Srimad Bhagavatam. Here is the challenge. In the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, all the gopis who were of similar age of Krishna, what is the purpose of Shri Krishna manifesting them on this planet in his Prakat Lila? And try to find the main purpose. And you will find there is only one main purpose. Is it Swakiya Bhav or Parakiya Bhav? Parakiya Bhav. So therefore we say, Jaya Jaya Ujjwala Rasa Sarva Rasa Sar. And which Bhav? Parakiya Bhave Jaha Brajete Prachar. In Braja, Bhagavan did prachar of which bhav? Swakiya bhav or Parakiya bhav? Parakiya bhav. So the only exception is this. But the Kavis will say, but the poets will say, our objection is still not answered. Finally, it is showing pastimes between men and women, isn't it? And by showing such pastimes, people who look at those pastimes will take those pastimes in a materialistic sense and will end up getting agitated from a material point of view. So, Sri Rupa Goswami points that in the Brahma Samhita, the difference between the gopis of Vrindavan and ordinary girls of this world is described. Where in the Brahma Samhita? They are devotees. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis Tabhirya Eva Nija Rupa Taya Kalabhi Goloka Eva Nivasatya Khilatma Bhuto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. There is rasa in the dealings of men and women in this world. And that rasa may give some ananda, but it is also filled with dukkha. Ask anybody who is married. All right? It is not ananda completely. It is ananda mixed with what? Dukkha. It is honey mixed with poison, dear devotees. All men and male and female relationships in this world, they are honey mixed with poison. And there is no grihastha who will raise his hands, who can dare to raise his hand and say, no, my case is different. Nobody. We all know, what is the reality of male and female relationships in this world. It is happiness in the mode of passion, actually. What is it? Happiness in the mode of passion. In the beginning, Bhagavad-gita, Bhagavan has described, in the beginning it appears as nectar. And in the end it appears as poison. That is happiness in the mode of passion. So there is rasa in the dealings between men and women in this world. It is called Sringar ras. Which ras is it known as? Sringar. What we technically know in English as romance. But it is ananda mixed with what, dear devotees? Dukkha. But ananda chinmaya rasa, that rasa which is only full of ananda and which is chinmaya, which is not of this world. rasa pratibhavitabis. Every moment these gopis are radiating, resplending with this particular rasa. Tabhir ya eva nija rupataya kalabhi. And with these gopis who are nija rupataya, Sri Jiva Goswami says in the commentary to this verse of Brahmat Samhita, nija rupataya, the gopis are originally swakiya of Shri Krishna in the spiritual world, and parakiya only for pastimes in the material world. In the commentary to this verse, Sri Jiva Goswami says, Nija Rupataya, commenting on the term Nija Rupataya, that actually if you see in Tattva, they belong originally, the gopis originally belong to whom? Shri Krishna. In Tattva, do they belong to Shri Krishna or do they belong to somebody else? They belong to Shri Krishna. Kalabhi, they are his kalas. They are his manifestations. So if they are his kalas, they are originally Swakiya or Parakiya. Swakiya. So in Goloka Vrindavan. Therefore, Goloka Eva, only in Goloka, this happens that they are Swakiya, but in Prakat Lila, when they come here in this world, they, for pastimes of separation, etc., they take the role of Parakiya. Because with Swakiya Naika, with somebody who is married to us, there is no separation. But with Parakiya Naika, there is chance of separation. And separation is also a spectrum of prema. It is a very relishable spectrum of prema, which is not possible with Swakiya Naika. It is only possible in detail with which Naika? Parakiya Naika. For this reason, the pastimes of Parakiya Bhav are manifested here in the material world. That is what Sri Jiva Goswami says in the commentary to this verse. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitabhis. So we should understand from this commentary that originally in the spiritual world, Sri Jiva Goswami has said that the gopis are Swakiya or original consorts of Bhagavan Shri Krishna, and the Parakiya manifestation is only for Lila or carrying out certain pastimes. Which Lila? Especially pastimes of separation in this world. Separation is of 4 types. What are the 4 types of separation? Purvarag, Man, and Prema Vaichitya, and Pravas. 4 types of separation are mentioned by Sri Rupa Goswami in Ujjwal Nilmani. So separation is also a spectrum of love. Please tell me, is separation joyous or painful? Please tell me. Is separation joyous or painful? Both. Well, it is joyous if you don't like the person, isn't it? But if you love the person very much, is it joyous or painful? It's supposed to be painful. But dear devotees, the nature of separation, especially in Radha Krishna Lila, is such that although it externally appears painful, internally it generates the highest variety of joy. Alright, in Bhagavan's Lila, any separation also generates a lot of joy. I will give a simple example, you can understand this. How many of you have seen Ram Lila drama in your childhood? Please raise your hands. Many of you might have seen Ram Lila drama. My childhood, my father took me for watching many dramas. Not so much movies, but for dramas. Especially I used to go. I come from Marathi culture. Marathi culture is where there is lot of dramas. Even today in Marathi culture, there is lot of drama shown. So in childhood, I watched a lot of cultural dramas. So often I used to go see Ram Lila drama. There was one drama where there is description of Bharat Milap, where Bharat comes to convince Shri Ram that you should please take back the kingdom, and there is a lot of argumentation to and forth. In fact, one rishi even tries to become atheistic in order to bring Shri Ram back to Ayodhya. But Bhagavan Ram is steadfast and he says, I don't want to come. Finally, when it is decided that Bhagavan Ram will not come, then what does Shri Bharat say? At least give your footwear. And so he takes the footwear, and the moment Bharat turns back towards Ayodhya, the residents of Ayodhya start crying in that drama. And when the residents of Ayodhya start crying, because it is an indication that now Bhagavan Ram will not come back for 14 years. So as soon as they started crying, members of the audience also, many of them started crying. Now, question is to be asked to a person, that your brother is sitting right next to you, why are you crying? Who is experiencing separation from brother, Bharat or the audience member? Who is experiencing? Audience. Audience member's brother is sitting right next to him. It's a very important factor, dear devotees. The rasa which takes place on the stage is transmitted into the hearts of the like-minded audience. And the like-minded audience starts experiencing that particular rasa which is being portrayed on the stage. And after the drama is over, they all cry and then they come out and they say, wow, what a drama it was. I want to watch it again. Are bhai, it was sukha or dukha? It was happiness or distress? Bolo? So, it's a very important factor of rasa. Rasa is capable of turning the biggest of dukkha into the biggest of sukha. And this is the precise reason why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent the final years of his life in Gambhira, relishing the pastimes of union or separation. Separation. So it's very important to understand that separation is actually a very great joy when experienced through the framework of rasa. So, Sri Radha also gives all that joy. Kare aradhane. We see Krishna vancha purti rupa kare aradhane. Krishna wants to experience separation. So, who is going to help him? Sri Radha. Krishna wants to experience meeting, union. So, who is going to help him? Sri Radha. So, in this way, Sri Radha helps him in all these pastimes. When he goes to Mathura, Sri Krishna goes to Mathura, and they tried to stop him, and he did not stop. And when he goes to Mathura, after going to Mathura, one day he is on the roof of his palace of Mathura and he is looking at the direction of the road which he took from Vrindavan to Mathura. Sri Jiva Goswami and other Sri Rupa Goswami point out in Uddhav Sandesh, while looking at that particular road which he took to come from Vrindavan to Mathura, our Bhagavan suddenly started crying in such a way that multiple tears came out of his eyes and his garland started shaking vigorously. This is how Bhagavan started crying while looking at Sri Vrindavan. Acha, tell me, whose mistake is it to leave Vrindavan? The Gopi's mistake or Sri Krishna's mistake? Whose mistake? Because some of you are afraid to take the name, isn't it? Huh? Thoda be like a Gaudiya Vaishnav, develop some strength and speak the name. Whose mistake was it to leave Vrindavan? Krishna's mistake. On whom is the responsibility of leaving Vrindavan? Please tell me. Who wanted to become the king of Mathura? Krishna? Huh? Oh, see, the Narad Muni didn't pull Krishna's hand and took him to Mathura. Krishna has his own sense of discrimination.
Alert him that you have other pastimes.
Yeah. So Krishna was so immersed in pastimes with the gopis that Narad Muni has to come and alert him. Of course, he has a choice to not listen to him, but it is by his own sweet desire that he departs to Mathura. And then he is crying in Mathura. So this is the position of Sri Krishna in the entire pastime. You left by your own choice and you are crying. Of course, this crying is the highest variety of happiness. Try to understand this. When seen through the framework of rasa, the highest sadness becomes the highest joy. Otherwise, no living entity is foolish enough to say that I will put myself in pain. Neither Jivatma nor Bhagwan, they are not going to put themselves in material pain. This is not material pain. Rasa has no material element to it. Even suffering in the framework of rasa is the highest joy. We have to understand this. Because some devotees have a doubt, when we go to Golok Vrindavan and Krishna will leave us, then we will cry, and what will happen? Every day we are in distress. So that is not going to be, there is not going to be any distress. You are going to see it from a point of view of rasa. You are going to experience rasa. So you are going to experience bhakti rasa, and that experience of bhakti rasa is going to be the highest source of joy for all of us. And that joy is relished in the spiritual world, and especially here in the material world, because this Parakiya Lila happens specifically in the material world, where Bhagavan goes to Mathura, and from Mathura he doesn't come back. From Mathura he goes further away to Dwaraka. Now, when Bhagavan is in Vrindavan for the first few years of his pastimes, even in those particular in those particular times, Sri Radha worships him and fulfills all of his desires. And how does she fulfill all of his desires? So, Sri Jiva Goswami explains in Priti Sandarbha. The Sandarbhas are literatures of Tattva. So, this is Rasa Tattva. Atha ta Shri Krishna Vallabha Stridha Drishyante. There are three moods in which the gopis of Vrindavan are seen. Here are the names of the three moods, dear devotees. Please repeat after me. Sri Jiva Goswami says, Mugdha, Madhya, Pragalbha. These are the three primary moods of the gopis. What is Mugdha? What is Madhya? What is Pragalbha? Mugdha is, Sri Jiva Goswami says, the first is Mugdha is Nava Yavana. Nava Yavana means the mood of a lady who is just entered into youth. She is very shy girl and she is not very bold. Primarily she is very shy and her boldness is very little. That is called Mugdha. So Shri Radha fits in this category very well. Very well she fits into this category. Sometimes Shri Krishna, she is walking in Dan Ghati in Govardhan. Sometimes Shri Krishna suddenly stops her path. And suddenly she becomes very afraid, very shy, doesn't even want to look at him. This gives a lot of pleasure to Shri Krishna. This is Mugdha Radha, dear devotees. Then there is Madhya. Madhya is half shy, half bold. So half shy, half bold means sometimes she will, when Krishna is looking at her, she looks away. And when he is not looking at her, she starts looking at him. So dear devotees, this is called Madhya. Sri Rupa Goswami has given all these examples. Madhya Radha. So partially shy, partially bold. Then there is Pragalbha. Pragalbha means completely bold. She who will not hesitate to give a fitting reply to Shri Krishna. But Shri Radha doesn't fit in this category. Other gopis fit in this category. Because she is very sweet and soft towards Shri Krishna. And sometimes a little criticism she may do. Little criticism. But it doesn't go so much that it becomes a little unfavorable for Krishna. So her criticism also is such that it remains perfectly within the boundaries of pleasure of Shri Krishna. That is her criticism of Krishna. Or that is her level of boldness. So she is primarily shown as Mugdha and Madhya Naika. And she is not shown as Pragalbha, very bold, by the Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas. Example of a bold Naika. So is shown as Sri Chandravali. Radha Mohana Sri Bilva Mangal Thakur speaks in Krishna Karanamritam. Radha Mohana Mandiradupagatas Chandravali Muchivan Radhe Kshemamihe. So when Sri Krishna he had met Sri Radha, he had spoken a lot to Sri Radha, and he was returning home, he was in thoughts of Sri Radha, and in the evening on the way he found Sri Chandravali, and to Sri Chandravali he said, "How are you, O Radha?" Like this he said. Big mistake. Sri Rupa Goswami, it's such a big mistake, he puts it in a separate category, Gotra Skhalanam. Naam hi galat ho gaya, name is wrong. So, in his euphoria, Radhe Kshema Maye, so iheti tasya vachanam, Shrutvaha Chandravali. Acha. So she is not Mugdha, she is not Madhya, she is Pragalbha. Kamsa Kshemam iheti. Yes, Maharaj comes. I am okay. How are you? Hare? Kamsa kvadrishtastvaya. Where did you see Kamsa? Radha Kveti. First you tell me where you saw Radha. Oh my goodness. Then our Bhagavan realizes, oh my goodness, big mistake. So then he bows down his face and still he is smiling, dear devotees. Still he, Smero Harihi Patuva. Still he is smiling. Acha, who will keep smiling even in such a situation? Bola. Can anybody say loudly, who will keep smiling even after making such a big mistake? नहीं वो तो कृष्ण ठीक है, but there is a specific term for such a person. So in Marathi we say nirlajjah sada sukhi, है ना? Nirlajjah sada sukhi. ऐसा, this is our Shri Krishna. Acha, you will say, Hari Parshad Das, you spoke a big term, you addressed Krishna as what? Are every morning all of you are saying Ashlishya Vapadaratam Pinashtumam Adarshana Anmarmahatam Karotuva Yatha Tathava Vidadhatu. Acha, in saying Lampert you don't, your tongue doesn't feel anything. If I say Nirlajja, then you will say Nirlajja is included in Lampert, yes or no? So there is nothing wrong in saying Nirlajja, dear devotees. Srila Prabhupada, in the word for word of that, Yatha Tatha Va Vidadhatu Lampato, you can see word for word of that verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Lampata is translated as debauchee. So every morning, how are we decorating Sri Krishna? With which adjective are we decorating Sri Krishna every morning? Every morning, Bhagavan receives one gali from the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, isn't it? The Sanskrit term is gali. But Bhagavan loves gali, dear devotees. Try to understand. Bhagavan loves gali if it comes from his pure-hearted devotees. Bhagavan loves that. So don't invent new gali. But whatever Shastriya galis have been given by the previous acharyas, you are free to repeat those in front of Bhagavan. And I gave you the prime example, Ashlishyava Pada Ratam Pinashtumam. Lampato is actually a gali. Now, when you call somebody a lampet, you are giving them a gali. You are giving them a sweet, verbally abusive word. That's how you translate gali in English. But there is no other translation of gali. But Bhagavan takes it as a decoration upon his heart. So, dear devotees, in this way, Sri Radha gives pleasure through these moods, Mugdha, Madhya, Then there are many other moods which are described by the previous acharyas. I'll give a name of them. Today I don't have time for explaining every mood, but I'll give a few names and I'll explain what those moods are. Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami has explained. Then there are 8 primary types of Naikas, 8 moods of ladies, which Sri Radha displays in order to give pleasure to Sri Krishna. What are those 8 moods? And I am specifying this. Please repeat after me the names and I'll explain the name. First is, please repeat, Abhisarika. So Abhisarika is that Naika, is that lady who is told by Sri Krishna, you meet me at this particular point in the middle of the night. So she chooses a night which is no moon night. Because in no moon night there is no there is no there is no effulgence of the moon. She wears completely dark clothes, quietly leaves her home in order to meet Sri Krishna in the middle of the night. She is called as Abhisarika. And Abhisarika, Radha. Sri Radha often takes this role for Sri Krishna, Abhisarika. Second is, please repeat, Vasaka Sajja. So Vasaka Sajja, where Sri Krishna has told her, I will come. So she not only waits there, she starts decorating an entire kunja. She starts making a kunja. Yeah, like you make in the altar, what you see in the altar is a kunja. So Vasaka Sajja. Vasaka is place of residence. She starts decorating it. She's very excited. She's telling her friends, he's going to come, he's going to come. Definitely he will come in some time. She is known as Vasaka Sajja. Sri Radha takes this role for Sri Krishna. Third, please repeat after me. Utkantita. Utkantita. It is getting late at night. He is not coming. So she becomes Utkantita, very anxious. Then there is Tarka Vitarka. What has happened? Maybe he's stuck somewhere. Maybe his parents didn't allow him. Maybe something happened. Utkantita. What happened? He has purposely not come, dear devotees, in order to make sure that she displays those emotions and that he can become happy by seeing her in this way. Is there any material suffering in all of this? No. For her also it is enjoyment. For him also it is enjoyment. Because modern people have this sickening mindset that how can Sri Krishna enjoy at the expense of the suffering of Sri Radha. To them it should be told that it is not suffering, it is actually experienced through the framework of rasa. So for her also it is such great enjoyment that Krishna wants to take her mood and appear as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that is Utkantita. Fourth, dear devotees, Khandita. Khandita means, fourth, please repeat, Vipralabdha. Vipralabdha is entire night went away, he did not come. So she is cursing herself. My fortune is very bad. I don't think I have good fortune in my life. I lost all my good fortune, he has not come. He told me to come wait here, but he did not come. Vipralabdha. Then fifth, Khandita. Suddenly she sees he is coming. Just before morning is about to happen, he is coming. She has waited entire night. But then when he comes near, she sees on him, there are symptoms that he has met another gopi and come. Dear devotees, Khandita. She becomes very angry on him and pushes him away. This is called Khandita Radha. So Shri Krishna likes that. She pushes him away, and there's a very famous song in Gita Govinda, Rajani Janita Guru Jagara Ragam, Yahi Madhava, Mavada Kaitava Vadam. Are jao Madhav, get away. Madhav, speak your lies somewhere else. Khandita, Shri Radha. Next, dear devotees, Kalahantarita. Kalahantarita. Kalaha means she has fought with him and he has gone away. Now she is again cursing herself, why did I fight with him? I should have not fought with him. Kalaha Antarita. She is regretting her fighting with him. Kalaha Antarita. This is 6, 7, dear devotees. Swadhina Bhartrika. So on certain other days when he does come and meet her at proper time, she completely makes him her servant. And she says, do this, pick flowers for me, do this for me, do that for me. And he says, Ji Hujur, yes, I will do that. So Swadhin, she has completely controlled her Bhartrika, her lover. She is called Swadhina Bhartrika. And finally, dear devotees, please say, Proshita Bhartrika. Proshita Bhartrika is she whose lover has gone far away. So when he goes to Mathura, Dwaraka, she is suffering in separation. She is called Proshita Bhartrika. So these are 8 Ashtanaika, 8 primary types of feminine roles that Sri Radha takes for whose pleasure, dear devotees? Sri Krishna's. So these are all described by Sri Rupa Goswami. Did you find any trace of vulgarity in these descriptions? So you will not find any trace of vulgarity. In fact, by faithful listening, it purifies our heart. Now I am coming to the final point. How does it purify our heart? At the end of the Rasa Lila, 5 chapters of Rasa Lila, Sri Shukadev Goswami concluded by saying that विक्रीडितं व्रजवधूभिरिदं च विष्णो श्रद्धान्वितानुशृणुयादथ वर्णयेद्यः भक्तिं परां भगवती प्रतिलभ्य कामं हृद्रोगमाश्वपहिनोत्यचिरेण धीरः. At the end of it, Parikshit Maharaj was also in the beginning doubtful. How can Krishna enjoy with the wives of others? This is one doubt which Parikshit Maharaj had in the 10th canto. Shri Shukdev Goswami explained to him the tattva, that this is actually not material rasa, this is which rasa? Bhakti rasa. And one who faithfully listens to the pastimes of the gopis with Krishna, this is the verse, Vikriditam. One who faithfully listens, the disease of his heart, which is lust, will be driven away completely. Now, how will this disease be driven away completely? By listening to these pastimes. Now, I am giving that secret. The devotees, please hear the secret. The previous acharyas explain. Sri Jiva Goswami says, Yadamita rasa shastre vyanji vaidagdya vrindam tadanum apina vetum kalpate kami lokah tadakhilam api yasya prema sindhau na kinchin mithunam ajita gopi rupame tad vibhati. Gopal Champu, Purva Vibhag, 24th Champu, Sri Jiva Goswami says, Yad amita rasa shastre. Take all the romantic literature of the material world, Sri Jiva Goswami, very boldly, take all the romantic literature. Dear devotees, do you know any romantic literature in English language? Can somebody tell me which romantic literature exists in the English language? Huh? Okay. The highest romantic literature known in the English language. Romeo and Juliet, wonderful. Chalo, at least we have heard the name. Huh? So take that literature, wonderful. So take that literature and take all other romantic literature of the world, Sri Jiva Goswami says. Vyanji Vaidagdya Vrindam, and take all the expertise of love, how they are meeting each other, how they are expressing their love, how they are saying I love you. Take all that expertise, all that rus you take. Tad anumapina vetum kalpate kami loka. Sri Jiva Goswami says, the ordinary person walking on the street cannot experience even a tiny fraction of what is given in the material books. And because in material world, how many people are able to experience the love that Romeo and Juliet experienced? Almost none. So even the material love which is given in the material literature, ordinary people are not able to experience. I'll give a very simple example. In the movies it is shown that there is the hero and a heroine and they meet each other and is driving in a car and they are all going somewhere and they are singing songs. And in a real world, if somebody tries to do that, then he has to fill fuel in the car, he has to pay the electricity bills, and he has to, all that is not shown in the movie. That he gets married, after 2 years she got cancer, she lost all her hair in the surgery, and then the marriage lost its value and everything. So, dear devotees, all of this is not shown in the movie. So that was material rasa shastra, and the ordinary kami lokas, Jiva Goswami, cannot experience even little bit of fraction of what is described in their own literature. Acha, tad akhilam api yasya prema sindhau na kinchit. But the ocean of prema of Radha Krishna is such that all of this material literature is not even a drop in front of that particular literature. The entire spectrum of union and the entire spectrum of separation and all the emotions between that, and emotions that you cannot find ever in the material world. Forget about experiencing any such emotion in the material world. Forget about it. Once a person has a little taste of it, param drishtva nivartate, they will realize there is no such thing available in the material world. And by looking at this higher alternative, they will give up their attachment to the lower alternative. So that is only possible with Sri Radha Krishna. Mithunam Ajita Gopi, Ajit and Gopi, Sri Jiva Goswami, only Bhagavan Krishna and Sri Radha. Rupam etad vibhati. It is only possible with Sri Radha. So, Krishna vancha purti rupa kare aradhane, ateva radhika naam purane vakhane. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Yadatra skalitam kinchit vidvam saha purayantu tat. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit tad guroreva me nahi. Yadatra skalitam kinchit. If there's any mistake in what I said, Vidvamsaha, your learned devotees, Purayantu tat. Please correct any mistakes. But yadatra saushthavam kinchit. If there's anything nice, please remember tad guroreva. It belongs to my Gurujanas. May nahi. It doesn't belong to me. Thank you very much once again, Hemagiri Prabhu. Thank you, Brajari Prabhu, for kindly being present here. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you all the wonderful devotees who are present here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Only. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. So nice. You can come more often.
Definitely.
I have two questions. One is this when during Brahma Vimohan Lila, is it true that all the gopis are married to Krishna when he is in that form of the gopas? It is not there in Bhagavatam.
All right. So the question is that in the Brahma Vimohan Lila, is it true that because Shri Brahma stole away the cowherd boys and Krishna took the forms of those cowherd boys, and then is it true that the gopis were married to the cowherd boys in that year? Because then their desire of marrying Krishna will also be fulfilled. So this realization is given by two commentators. One commentator is Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, who gives this realization. Another commentator is Shri Harisuri, who gives this realization. So both commentators have given this realization, and both commentators were disconnected from each other. They were staying in completely different parts of the country. So usually when similar realizations come from multiple sources who did not know each other personally, it is generally taken as an inspiration from Bhagavan within the heart that is the particular year in which that particular incident happened. So that is what can be said in this regard. Thank you.
There was a pastime where in Kusum Sarovar, Srimad Radharani and gopis, they are plucking the flowers. And then Krishna comes, with whose permission you are plucking? They said, then Srimad Radharani says, who are you to tell? I am, So that doesn't come in Pragalbha?
Does it, Pragalbha? No. The pastime of Sri Radha, Krishna, who are you? Why are you plucking flower? That is not Pragalbha. Pragalbha is when sharp words and boldness is shown. Very sharp words are given. That is Pragalbha. Pragalbha is not thoda threatening. That is Madhya. Madhya is little bold, little shy. If Krishna also threatens, she'll become little shy. Then she'll again threaten. Little bold, little shy. That is Madhya. But she's never shown as Pragalbha. Completely bold. That I'll never give up. No, that's not how she's shown. So she also resists till a certain point, and Krishna usually agrees to become subservient to her in that much resistance. All right. Thank you.
These pastimes, Danagati pastimes and all, they are not mentioned in Bhagavatam. Are they, these pastimes are manifest in the hearts of Rupa Goswami and all, or where are they from?
All right. So, the pastimes such as Dan, Lila, or Brihad Bhagavatamritam, Gopakumar, they are not mentioned in the Bhagavatam. How did these pastimes come about? In every sampradaya, there is a method of receiving Bhagavad Lila in Samadhi. In the Shri Vaishnava Sampradaya, there is Divya Prabandham. Divya Prabandham, they call it Tamil Ved. Tamil Ved means they consider it as good as Veda. But they are realizations of the poets, the devotee poets of the Shri Vaishnava Sampradaya. But they treat it as their Veda. They treat it as good as Vedanta. So just as they see Ishopanishad, Kathopanishad, Mundak Mandukya Upanishad, with the same degree they respect Divya Prabandham, although Divya Prabandham is in Tamil language. So in our Sampradaya too, we have realizations from the previous acharyas which have come through Samadhi, and since we have faith in the Samadhi realization of those acharyas, we accept them as good as Veda. That should be, because what happens, sometimes we say, these literatures are good, but they are not to be given as much preference as Bhagavatam. But Bhagavatam also is Samadhi. Whose Samadhi? Shri Vyasadeva. In the beginning of the Bhagavatam, Shri Vyasadeva touched the waters of the Saraswati river, sat down in Samadhi and visualized the entire Bhagavatam. It's not that Shri Vyasadeva was present when Maitreya Muni and this pastime is happening. It's not that Shri Vyasadeva is present when Vritrasur pastime is happening. It's not that he was present in all those pastimes. So just as he saw the entire Bhagavatam in Samadhi, Sri Rupa Goswami saw in Samadhi, Sri Sanatana Goswami saw in Samadhi. Samadhi is a stage of perfection of any system of yoga which is available to any sadhaka who has reached the perfectional stage. Today, tomorrow, even if we reach Samadhi, Bhagavan may reveal certain pastimes within our heart and the pen is still open for us after we reach Samadhi. So that is the answer to the query.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for very nicely and detailed explanation of how Srimati Radharani is offering her services to Shri Krishna, giving pleasure to Shri Krishna. Prabhuji, couple of questions I have. You mentioned that in spiritual world, there is Swakiya gopis are there. They are Swakiya. But in the material world only, this pastime happened of Parikya. So it's not there, the Parikya Lila is not happening in spiritual world?
Right. So the question is Parikya Lila not happening in the spiritual world? Is it only in the material world? Shri Jiva Goswami in that commentary to that verse, and you can note down Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, and there may be translation available of his commentary. So you can see his commentary on that verse, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. In that commentary he has explained, Goloka Eva is the term. And Nija Rupataya. Nija Rupataya means Sviyataya, means as his Swakiya, Goloka Eva, only in Goloka. That's how he interprets it. Some other acharyas, of course Sri Jiva Goswami also has said that in Goloka Vrindavan there are unlimited prakasha. Prakasha means unlimited instances of pastimes happening. What is the meaning of unlimited instances of pastimes happening? The meaning is that at one particular point of time in Goloka Vrindavan, Rasa Lila is also happening and Bhagavan is also conducting some other Lila with Mother Yashoda. Bhagavan is also conducting a third Lila with somebody, a fourth Lila with somebody. Unlimited varieties of pastimes are happening. And they are all happening simultaneously in the spiritual world. Now somebody may say, how is it possible? Because it is the spiritual world and there are no restrictions. And there are unlimited number of gopis. And unlimited number of Vrajavasis. And they all need to have pastimes with Krishna simultaneously in the spiritual world. It's not that they have to be put in a waiting list. Your pastime time is 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. It's not like that. So they all need to have 24-hour pastimes with Shri Krishna. And Sri Sanatana Goswami says in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Balakas taruna vriddha gopaste koti koti shaha. Sarve manye aham Krishnasya prayan netaraha. All of them think I am dearmost to Krishna. Everybody in the spiritual world thinks I am dearmost to Krishna. And Krishna also reciprocates with them in that way that you are the dearmost to me. Not this person, not that person. You are the dearmost to me. So that is how multiple compartments, simultaneous compartments, multiple simultaneous compartments have to take place. So other acharyas have said that Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur especially is in the favor of keeping Parakiya Lila even in the spiritual world. But Sri Jiva Goswami says that from a tattva point of view, even if you say that they are Parakiya, from a tattva point of view, whose Shakti are they? Krishna's. Sri Radha is not the Shakti of her so-called husband Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu is Jiva Tattva. Sri Radha is Shakti Tattva. Can a Jiva Tattva become the controller of Shakti Tattva? No. So from a technical point of view, from a Tattva point of view, you can never say that they are Parakiya. But from a Lila point of view, of course, there is possibility that they can become Parakiya in the spiritual world as well as in the material world. But Sri Jiva Goswami's focus is mainly from the Tattva point of view, especially when he is explaining Brahma Samhita. Brahma Samhita, from a Tattva point of view, in the spiritual world as well as in the material world, they are actually Swakiya from the Tattva point of view. But for Lila, they assume Parakiya nature. So this whole Parakiya thing is actually from a Lila point of view. And from a tattva point of view, they are swakiya because they cannot become anybody else's Shakti. They have to remain whose Shakti? Krishna's Shakti. So that harmonizes both points of view. So I hope that answers your query to some degree of satisfaction. All right? Okay? Hemagiri Prabhu, you have to tell me when to stop. Okay? Other, I'll keep going till 10 o'clock, I say.
Puji, we heard that this Kashore Lila is happening there, and Bal Leelas are only in the material world. Is it
so there it is heard that their Bal Lila is only in the material world. So I'll tell you where this is given. In Anand Vrindavan Champu, at the end of the first chapter, first stabaka. So Sri Kavi Karnapur says, Balyadi Lila Asuranash Lile. Two Leelas, Balya Lila and Asuranash Lila. Childhood pastimes of killing demons are happening only in material world. They don't happen in spiritual world. Now this is Sri Kavi Karnapur. Now tell me, can one Acharya see all the manifestations that are going on simultaneously in the spiritual world? No. So Sri Jiva Goswami in Bhakti Sandarbha says, Asuras tatra yantramaya. There are demons in the spiritual world, but they are mechanical, lifeless. I hope you are able to understand. They are not like real demons. So sometimes there are some demons that appear in the spiritual world too, but they are yantramaya. Yantramaya means they are not jivas who are envious of Krishna. Because there can be nobody envious of Krishna in the spiritual world. So the asuras there are not envious jivas of Sri Krishna. They are yantramaya. Yantramaya means they are just they are like puppets playing a role. And that's how it takes place. So therefore many Gaudiya Vaishnavas say that there is a possibility that Balya Lila also goes on in the spiritual world in a different prakash. All right? But all these subject matters enter into the realm of achintya. Frankly speaking, to go and say that, how many prakash, how many simultaneous manifestations are existing, it is from my point of view or from anybody's point of view, even from an acharya's point of view, it cannot be fully explained. Why? Because ultimately acharyas are also belonging to Jiva Tattva category, and Jiva Tattva, no matter how elevated or pure they are, still there are some limitations that they cannot enter into all the prakashas. All right? So that is how we can understand. So let's keep the window open for Balya Lila, but Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas, especially Sri Kavi Karnapur, have said that I have not seen Balya Lila and Asur Nash Lila in spiritual world. Sri Jiva Goswami has indicated that there are asuras in the spiritual world, but they are mechanical puppets. Now you can harmonize. I leave you all the cards on the table. I leave with you. So this is beyond this. You have to write a super commentary. And I am not a super commentator right now, so I will just leave all the cards on the table and you can harmonize all these conclusions. There are some questions with the Vaishnavis also, so I'd like maybe 1 or 2 questions from the Prabhus, then we'll go to the Vaishnavis. Okay?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, so short questions, 2 questions. First question is, you mentioned Sri Chandrika Gopi. She is also expansion of
Shri Chandravali.
Chandravali Gopi. She is also expansion of Radhika only, because in previous verses mentioned all these are the avatar of Radhika, right?
So the technical term is Kaya Vyuha. Kaya Vyuha means is a manifestation of the original body of Sri Radha in a different form. Kaya Vyuha. Sometimes what happens, we call everything as expansion. So expansion cannot be, actually expansion, the term is the best translation. But the problem is in the English language. Because in Dwarka, when Krishna's marriage took place, there were 16,000 Krishnas. So people say there were 16,000 expansions. They were not expansion, they were 16,000 original Krishnas. So that is called Prakash. So this Kaya Vyuha, technical name is Kaya Vyuha. So what is the question?
Yeah, just wanted to confirm that.
Originally Sri Radha, because Sri Radha is Hladini Swarupini. She is the personification of Ananda, and the purpose of the gopis is to give Krishna what? Sat, Chit or Ananda. What is their purpose? To give Ananda. So they have to derive their inspiration or existence from the existence of Sri Radha.
Okay. And one more question, as you mentioned the example of Brahmanas, that we are the able to read as scriptures and we should try to understand. But sometimes what happens, there are like, as you mentioned, Padma, there are two meanings. One is Kavya and other is a Pad. So there are sometimes possibility that we may speculate something differently if there is because our limited knowledge. So should we go on reading these scriptures and how we can understand it in the correct way?
All right. So how can we understand? See, without deepening our knowledge of Bhakti Shastra, there is no question of progress. There is absolutely no question of progress without deepening our knowledge of Bhakti Shastra. And I'd like to point it out if we can pull out a purport. All right? Because many times devotees think that claims are, if I'm making a claim, I should back it up by Srila Prabhupada's writings. In Bhagavatam 1.2.12, please pull out Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.12 purport. And I would like to point out the very serious words of Srila Prabhupada, so that all devotees here should hear what Srila Prabhupada is saying and should note down and should not become laxed in the understanding, detailed understanding of Bhakti Shastra. So in the purport to 1.2.12 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada has said something. And so Prabhu, you can kindly pull out that purport and you can show it on the screen. Does it show on the screen? Yeah. So this is 1.2.12.
Yes.
In the purport, Prabhupada will be speaking about Vedanta. Can you go below? Can you go below? Go further down. It's towards the end. Go further down. Yeah. Go further down. Go further down. Yeah. Go. All right. Go further. Yes, please go up. Please go up. Yes. Can you, a sincere devotee must therefore be prepared to hear Vedic literature like the Upanishads, Vedanta and other literatures left by the previous authorities or Goswamis. Prabhupada very clearly says here, a sincere devotee. Please raise your hand. How many of us want to become sincere? Oh, wonderful. Okay, all of us want to become. Must, and must means there is no choice, must be prepared to hear the literature of the Goswamis for the benefit of his progress, for his own progress. Without hearing such literature, one cannot make actual progress. And you can write it down, it's in a purport, it's a general instruction for all the devotees. No matter how much you try to do a work around this, you cannot do a work around. The reason is Kanishta Adhikari, Madhyam Adhikari, Uttam Adhikari is defined on the basis of understanding of Bhakti Shastra. That is how it is defined. And therefore Prabhupada here is saying, without understanding Bhakti Shastra, one cannot make actual progress. And it is a very important point that all devotees should understand. Now your question is, if we are reading by our own self and we may speculate something, then there will be a problem. How do we ensure that our understanding of Bhakti Shastra is perfect and not mistaken? Therefore, understand from somebody who is Uttam Adhikari, who has seen, who knows, who has no errors in explaining, so that when you receive something for the first time, you receive correct knowledge. Now, how many of us would like to receive correct knowledge for the first time in great detail? Please raise your hands. And the first mistake many individuals make is they say that this knowledge is Gyan. Don't become Gyani. So that is another mistake. Because this knowledge is not Gyan. Gyan, Sri Jiva Goswami says, refers to Brahma Gyan, knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Knowledge of Bhakti Shastras should never be called as Gyan. Knowledge of Bhakti Shastras is known as Bhakti. Cultivating knowledge of Bhakti Shastras doesn't come under Gyan, it comes under the ambit of Bhakti. So when we are gathering more and more knowledge of Bhakti Shastras about Shri Krishna, Shri Radha, Bhagavat Tattva, Paramatma Tattva, Bhakti Tattva, Priti Tattva, we are actually performing limbs of Bhakti. If you don't believe it, remember the 5 limbs Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sadhu Sangha, Nam Kirtan, Bhagavat Shravan. Bhagavad Shravan, understanding Bhagavatam in great detail is also a limb of bhakti. So the more you are understanding Bhagavan in detail, the more you are performing a direct limb of bhakti, and it is required to become an Uttam Adhikari, without which there is no question of becoming an Uttam Adhikari. There is no question of becoming an Uttam Adhikari. Right? So hear from a person who has heard properly, who is situated in an Uttam Adhikari stage, whose doubts are resolved, and then you will find immense progress in a very small amount of time, which otherwise by our own effort is very difficult to make. All right?
Small comment.
Okay, so Hemgiri Prabhu, what to do? One last? Okay, one last. There's one Mataji also behind. So can we give the mic to her, and I'll personally, after the class, I'll...
I want to clarify, Puji, this statement.
Acha, okay, yeah, sure.
Showed, Puji, that Acharya, you are reading from previous Acharyas and Goswamis.
Yeah.
So is not Prabhupada mentioning about himself, he cannot read my books? Is not Prabhupada mentioning reading my books also?
Of course, but most of Prabhupada's books are books of the previous Acharyas. Nectar of Devotion was originally composed by whom? Sri Rupa Goswami. Nectar of Instruction was originally composed by whom? Sri Rupa Goswami. Ishopanishad is originally Bhagavan's breathing. It is Ved. And Bhagavad-gita is originally Sri Vyasadev, Sri Bhagavan. So the four literature that we study in Bhakti Shastri, originally in their original language, are they Prabhupada's books or are they previous Acharya's books? The previous Acharya's books originally, he has translated them faithfully in the English language. So when we are reading Prabhupada's books, we are automatically reading the Goswami's books. But here there is Kuru Pandav Nyaya. You know what is Kuru Pandav Nyaya? The Pandavas are Kauravas. You agree? But the five Pandavas are not the entirety of Kauravas. There are Kauravas besides the Pandavas also. So similarly, Srila Prabhupada's books have the essence of all the Goswamis' literature, and everything is there. And he has translated some of the books of the Goswamis, and the essence of all of them is also there. But at the same time, there are many details which you also need to study separately, and which Srila Prabhupada said in the purport to 1.1.1. In the purport to 1.1.1, he said the serious student should carefully study the commentaries of previous acharyas such as Sri Vallabhacharya, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Sanatan. There he is naming those acharyas. He should study the commentaries of Sri Vallabhacharya, Sri Sanatan Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami. Otherwise, it is impossible to make progress. See, if we don't study, we will lag behind. And if we lag behind, it is our misfortune. It is nobody else's, it is for our own benefit, we should try to do that.
I agree, Puji. With that, we have to study previous acharyas, Prabhupada mentioning.
Yeah.
Only concern I have observed, Puji, that when we have not adhikar, not sufficiently read Prabhupada books, understand, applied in our life, and such statement and just try to apply, go to Goswami's literatures, then we, my observation, Puji,
we may make a mistake.
We make mistake, we divert from Srila Prabhupada teachings like that. Therefore, I heard many senior devotees in ISKCON, they say that 3 times, 7 times you first study Srila Prabhupada books, apply them in...
3 times, 7 times you study, even after that there is no guarantee you have understood Prabhupada. Anybody who is saying 3 times, 7 times doesn't understand.
Or you mentioned that, yes, Puji.
After 3 times, Prabhupada has not given a rule that after studying me 3 times you will understand me.
Means sufficiently, and who have understood Srila Prabhupada, as you mentioned.
See,
a devotee who has understood Srila Prabhupada, hearing from them, understanding Prabhupada teachings, then we can go to...
Understood. The main point here is as follows. There are 10 people who may study Srila Prabhupada's books, cover to cover. Out of them, 3 or 4 may misunderstand even though they have not studied previous Acharya's books. And you can see n number of cases of devotees who may not have studied any previous Acharya's books, but they made a mistake in understanding whose books? Prabhupada's books. So the question that you are asking technically, that without reading Prabhupada's books, they may make a mistake in understanding previous Acharya's books. Without understanding Prabhupada's books properly, they may make a mistake in understanding even Prabhupada's books. So there is no issue with the previous Acharya's books or Prabhupada's books. The issue is with how the books are explained. The main issue is as follows. the books are not explained from a proper tattva point of view. And therefore, after multiple readings, two people are having misunderstandings, even though they have not read previous Acharya. Only in Prabhupada's books they are having misunderstandings. So these rules that have been made, that you have to read 3 times. Let's say I agree to that rule. You have to read 3 times. And in those 3 times I am reading with my predisposed, incorrect, biased attitude. Will that hearing 3 times make any difference? The answer is no. The solution is you have to hear from a person who is an Uttam Adhikari, and that Uttam Adhikari will tell you that, see, he has seen all the ends of Shastra, this end, that, and every end he has seen, and has heard from his own Guru Janas. Then he will tell you, see, this particular point is to be understood like this, that particular point is to be, so that all respect for all acharyas is maintained, you can harmonize all the principles, and you do not have disrespect for any previous acharyas, and you have complete understanding of the Siddhanta, 360-degree understanding of the Siddhanta. That is not possible by self-study. That is only possible when a person who is expert enough explains the Siddhanta at proper time. So that input is very important. Self-study is only 1/4 of it. In the Mahabharata it is said 1/4 is done by self-study, 1/4 is done by discussing with other students, 1/4 happens only with the passing of time, and the most important 1/4 comes from the Guru. So if that 1/4 which comes from the Guru, and that Guru should be somebody who is not restricted only to one set of books. The Guru should be somebody who is Sarva Tantra Swatantra. He is free in the entire corpus of literature of the previous acharyas. Only then will you be able to resolve the doubts completely. Otherwise, like questions you asked about, are asuras present in the spiritual world? You can search through the entire Veda base. Maybe you may not find a single reference of whether asuras are present in the spiritual world or not. But it is there in the Bhakti Sandarbha, it's there in Anand Vrindavan Champu. So specific references are there. So specific references resolve specific doubts. For that you need, because I myself heard from some authoritative devotees, my own Guru Janas. So I know that these are the references there. So sometime, therefore in the 11th canto, there's a very nice verse. Nahi ekasmat guror jnanam susthiram syat supushkalam. From one source of knowledge, your knowledge does not become fully pakka. You have to hear from multiple sources of knowledge, while keeping utmost respect for one source of knowledge of your choice. All right? So that you can have utmost respect for one source of knowledge, but don't shut down other sources of knowledge. You should learn from all valid sources of knowledge. That is the path to making genuine progress, followed by all previous acharyas. All the previous acharyas have followed this. This is the royal highway of progress, and it is approved by Srila Prabhupada. All right, so that is where I think I should pause. Thank you so much once again. Hare Krishna.